Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have a very special streaming because today I'm going to speak in English as our guest, Jim Zwers, is from the USA. But for those who don't speak English, we are going to make subtitles so you can also follow us. I'm very happy that Jim is here because he is a unique person. He runs an ideal school. And this is not an exaggeration because it is really ideal. And today we are going to discuss different things about education, the problems that there are in the educational system, and we are going to know about his school, how it is organized. So Jim, hello.
Hello, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming to St. Petersburg and Moscow and to Russia.
Yeah, very happy to be here. Again, because I was first here in 1991. And that was an amazing experience, very different time. The city has changed a lot, and but I always, I've always wanted to come back, so I'm very happy I have this opportunity.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And let's get started
because
I have very many questions.
Oh my God, okay, quick, let's go.
And my first question is about the problems that there are in the educational system all around the world, I think.
Yes, yeah.
I think that they are more or less the same.
Yes.
So could you tell us?
Well, first of all, just to give you a little knowledge about my experience. So I've been working in schools for 17 years, and I've also spoken to schools on 6 different continents. And I've visited schools. I met with schools in China and South America and Europe and North America and all these different places, and Australia. And I have a good understanding of lots of different education systems. Okay, and my school in Florida is a private school, and because we're a private school, we have the opportunity to do things a bit different. So I'm very motivated to find the best way to educate our students. And I don't believe that just doing the same thing like my parents did and my grandparents did and everything like that, it was really the best system. I think it was a good system for the time. I think it was an improvement at that time. But I think in 2019 we can do better. And we have a lot more technology. We have a lot more understanding of people and different things like that. So I've been searching the world and finding different ideas. I've been creating my own ideas and also like stealing little bits of jewels from everywhere I go to get ideas to add. And I've been able to create like a really good situation at my school. Mm-hmm. I don't know what your question was.
I will repeat it. Okay, it's good that it's written and I remember it.
Yeah.
So tell us about the problems that there are.
Okay, good. Yeah, so the problems you have in modern education is, first of all, it's sort of like everybody is looked at the same way. Mm-hmm. So every student is measured and judged by the same tests, the same grades, the same education system, the same curriculum. And the reality is everybody is different. Mm-hmm. So part of the modern education system, particularly in America, is a lot of it was created in the early 1900s, 1901, 1910, around that time period. And at that time, there was a lot of industrial growth, factories and business and things like this. And then a lot of those people who owned and ran those factories got involved in education. They donated to education systems and things like this. But a lot of the viewpoint was almost like a factory mentality. Mm-hmm. Like you put a kindergartner in this end, and you get a university student out at that end. Mm-hmm. Just like you put 1,000 pounds of steel on this end, and you get a car on that end. Mm-hmm. So it's not the same. It's not the right. It's the wrong model. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work that way because people are individual. They have individual purposes and goals, and sometimes we forget that children are people too. And the same things that like make us feel bad or unsuccessful are the same for children. They have the same basic psychology. They're just growing up and getting more experience. So a child, like if you have a child who's in a system that doesn't fit him, then he's going to be for 40 hours a week in an unhappy situation where he cannot be successful. And then And you could imagine for yourself or myself, if I was 40 hours a week doing something that I could never be successful at, I would have a lot of problems. I would be very unhappy. I would not be motivated.
Absolutely.
And I would also start to, when I had the opportunity to start to fight against and rebel against the system.
Absolutely. What
Yes.
about the politics? Does it influence a lot the educational system?
Yes. Well, one thing in America, you know, a lot of every country sort of has standards and state standards and this government and things like this. In America, I know, I don't know from the political side so much different countries, but I know in America, you know, you have kind of like educators and boards of educators kind of setting standards and things. But honestly, above them are the politicians. And the politicians control how money gets spent. And if you control how money gets spent, you can control the agenda. So there are things, for example, in America, they're trying to make a national standard. Right now, the standards are on a state level. So they try to make a national standard called Common Core. That means common, same for everybody, but core, like the subjects. And the reality is the Common Core is a very, very complicated and a very large thing. Like you had, like, if you can imagine, every science teacher, every math teacher, every reading teacher, all got to add everything they wanted. So if you did everything in this national program, you would actually only graduate when you're like 28 years old. Because it's so much stuff, right? So then, but the government wants to do this. They want to have a national system, and so they said every state can adopt this program if they want, but if you adopt it, we'll give you more money for schools. So of course they control the money. So the students are like the people who control the education are motivated to adopt the system.
I understand.
Yes.
And how do you see your mission in this atmosphere?
Yeah. Well, my mission is I think I have a very rare and special opportunity that I have a lot of freedom to educate my students in a creative and I think sometimes better way. And just to be clear, I have no criticism of anybody working in public education. I don't have criticism for the people in the government working for education. I think all of these people have a very high care and motivation for the students. But a lot of the times they just don't have the freedom that we have, and to be creative.
Sometimes the technology.
And the technology and the freedom, and then also when you have a big system, it's hard to change. We're a smaller school; we can change more rapidly. So the mission. So our mission is really to take each student and to maximize their unique potential. Okay, so we view each student as an individual. We say each student has different personality, talents, interests, and so if they all have different talent, personality, and interests, then the end result of their education should be different for every student because every person is different. And what we want to do is we want to take what they have and make it as large and successful as possible. So we want to really like grow the student fully. So that's academically, but also like as a person. We want them to be good people. We want them to know how to work hard. We want them to be personally motivated. So in addition to the academic work, we do a lot to try to help them learn a lot of practical skills so that not only are they good in the classroom, but then they're going to be good when they go to get jobs and start their own businesses and things like that. So they're better prepared for the real world.
Wow.
Yes.
So you have an ideal school where
Yes,
a person can open his personality,
Yes.
understand
Yes.
not after school, but just during this
Right,
time.
yes, yeah.
So, and how is your school organized? Like maybe some specialties, some...
Yes, so there's a lot of different pieces of the puzzle that we use, okay? So we're, like I said, we're always looking for good things that will help us be a better school. So one of the things we adopted was a system of study called study technology, developed by Rona Habbard. And this system, it actually, if you think of like, you think a student wants to learn. Naturally, a human being wants to learn. They want to absorb new knowledge. So when there's some reason they can't absorb that knowledge, there's some barrier, then this study technology describes how to handle those barriers. And one of the things that is our specialty is we teach our students to be independent learners. So it's that not only will the teacher be able to teach them, but the student can learn on their own and teach themselves the subject. So that is something that is a bit unique in our system. The other system we have that is useful is we have our study is broken down into little pieces. So instead of just saying this is 1 year of math, this is 1 year of science, 1 year of reading, we take those years and we break them down into small pieces, and then we track the students' progress on a weekly basis. So as soon as they start to fall behind, we are able to immediately, because we have a computer database that helps us track this, we're immediately able to find out what's happening with that student. Are they running into difficulty? Do they need more help? Something like that. And then from there, we can help the student, again, build up more speed and be more successful.
Wow. And what about other activities?
Yes.
Like art, sports?
Yeah, we have a very rich activities day for the student. We start at 9 in the morning and we go until 5 o'clock at night. So it's a little longer schedule than some schools. And the schedule is designed to be a benefit for working parents. So if you have a full-time job as a parent, you don't have to worry about, how do I have to leave at 3 o'clock to take my child and take them to sports and swimming and blah, blah, blah. So we have a full-day schedule, and then we divide, we divide the day up. So we have we have PE, we have art, we have languages, we have a new technology center, so we're teaching robotics and 3D printing and design like that. It's pretty amazing. We also have a system for our whole school from first class all the way up that we're teaching them computer skills. So they're learning typing, word processing, spreadsheets, PowerPoint. They're learning computer programming, robotics programming, and also something I'm very excited about is they're also learning internet safety, because there's a lot of things these kids can get in trouble online, and so we're going to have them be protected so that they can avoid a lot of trouble in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my question is, as I'm interested in foreign languages, as I run an ESL school,
Yes.
So what foreign languages are popular now among the American students?
So at our school we teach Spanish, Chinese, Italian, and some students have also been taking sign language at the local university, so speaking with your hands, and we have a partnership with the local college that our students can take college classes at the same time they're in high school, and then they get college credit together with high school credit. So when they go into college, they already have some classes done. So it's not only languages, but they can take other classes.
Sure.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, I'm very happy with what our kids do with the languages. But it's not like in a European school where they're really good and it's really stressed, because Americans are a little bit not so strong on learning foreign languages.
They maybe don't need it much.
I think a common viewpoint in America that they can go anywhere and just speak English, which is a little bit true, and so there's not the same motivation. But so we do it and they do it, and it's as successful as we can make it. And then also another language we teach in our school is English, because we're an international school, and we can.
You mean English as a second language?
English as a second language, yes, because we have a lot of our students are actually from different countries, and so because of that, they'll come to us. We're able to give a student visa, and then from the student visa, we'll have students, even if they know no English at all. We have an English training program for every level, and we can put students in our classroom. We train them up on English as well as the normal schoolwork. So that's a language we spend a lot of time teaching. Yeah.
Do you have any Russian students?
I do have Russian students. Right now I have 6 Russian students. I don't know exactly where they're from, but I think a couple are from the Moscow area, and some of them more in the provinces. I don't think I have anybody from St. Petersburg yet, but there's still time. We can fix that.
Okay, I think that it's going to be interesting for the parents how to motivate a child to study, because sometimes children, they just don't want to study. I understood all about the study technology.
Yes.
When a person faces some problem, you can handle it.
Yes.
But sometimes you cannot make him even start to study.
Right. So one of our philosophies is a system we call goals-oriented education. And with goals-oriented education, we actually work with the student to find what their goal is, what their purpose is in life. Okay. So we do this through a consultation process. Also, the students will research different possible professions, and then from there, we will design their education program to fit the goals they want to accomplish. Okay, so if a student wants to be a doctor, their education will be preparing them to be a doctor.
And how does it happen? Like a child enters your school,
Yes.
and you have some interview or what?
Exactly.
And at which age?
Yes.
You can say
yes.
that.
So the viewpoint of studying with a goal is done right from the beginning. We always stress that, like from first class on. However, it becomes very important when they get to the high school level, where they really have to really start thinking about life after school. If they need to go to university, they need to be prepared for that. If they're going to go to start their own business, that's maybe a different kind of preparation. If they want to become do some kind of work that they don't need to go to university, then that's a different kind of preparation. So really, it begins seriously in high school, but it's a philosophy that goes through all grades. Yes.
But it's interesting. For example, if I ask now my child, what's your future profession? She would say, I want to be a singer and a dancer.
Right, always. Yep.
And I don't think that, and I
Yes.
think that every girl will say something of that kind.
Yes, exactly. So that's why we don't spend too much time on it at that age, because I think your daughter is 6 or 7, 7,
8.
8. Okay, good. So that's why when they start to get to be 13, 14, 15, it becomes much more important. But part of the process is even if the student is a little bit unrealistic, like they say, oh, I want to be like, I don't know, President of America or astronaut or something, which isn't that unrealistic, but if they have like a really high goal or something like that, or like if all the girls in the class want to be singers and dancers, then that's okay, because at least then they study for a reason. At least they have some motivation. And then as they grow older, become more mature, they gain more experience, that can change.
But how they can know all other professions? Because I think that my daughter wants to be a singer just because she goes to singing classes.
Yeah, that's very typical, right? So one of the things we like to do is we actually take the students to lots of different field trips in different places and different work environments. So they're going to see, like when they're young, they're going to see the police station and the fire station and maybe like a doctor's office, things like that, very typical. And then when they get older, we'll have, for example, speakers come to the school who have their own businesses or created their own inventions or things like that, and those people will then talk to our students. And then we'll also have the students do research. We have, for example, if a student has no idea what they want to be or they're not sure, we actually have a program where they can research many different professions. So then it kind of expands their view of what's available. Because it's true, at a young age, there's only a few professions that students understand and that they can think of. But when they get older, we actually expose them to more and more things, so they gain that perspective. The other thing is, when we're doing the interview process with the student, we'll not only say, well, what do you want to be, but we'll also say, well, what kind of things do you like to do? What kind of things make you happy and stuff like that. And from there, we can maybe narrow it down, and then the student can maybe do a little research, not on 1,000 professions, but maybe 10 professions. They go, yeah, I think this thing looks good for me. This is kind of what I like. And then we can get the students started. Then we'll also, part of this process is we'll add that they have an opportunity to work in that environment. So for example, if somebody wants to be an architect, as we had, I actually set them up and they went to an architect's office for a couple hours a week, and they got to experience that. My own daughter was very interested in fashion design. So we organized for her to work with a fashion designer for a couple hours a day. It was actually
some
quite
sort
intensive.
of practice during the
Yes.
summer or
It
during
was,
the year?
It was during the school year.
During the
so
school
later
year.
in the day, so maybe the most important academic subjects were earlier in the day, and in the afternoon from like 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, she would go to this job. And it started like very kind of simple. She was just helping the office, and it was just like an organized for free kind of thing. And then they liked her so much they started to pay her. So it turned into like a bigger thing, and she got to organize like photo shoots and different things like that, and help on their website and help on ordering material from China and doing all these kind of real experiences.
And what age was she?
She was 15, 16, 17.
16, so she was a good assistant.
Yeah,
at
she was
that time.
perfect. Yeah, she was a great assistant. And at the end of that experience, she said, well, really, all I'm doing is really trying to make rich people look better. So she realized that was not her goal. That was not what she wanted her life to stand for. And so she now, she then went more into education, where she can work with children and help people and stuff like that. And now she works with me at the school, which is very exciting for me personally. I love it. And she's much more fulfilled and satisfied that way.
Yeah, and it's good that she understood all these things during her school education.
Yes.
Because otherwise she could spend some part of her life and realize that she wants to do something different.
Exactly. Kind of like eliminating a profession is almost as valuable as finding a good profession for a student, because then they don't waste time in university, they don't waste time doing a career that's not right for them. Like another example of one of these apprenticeships we organized, right? So I had a student, she wanted to be a veterinarian, like an animal doctor. So we organized for her to work at this animal clinic, and she went there, and it was her first day, and I was like, oh, I wonder how it went. So I was talking to her, and I said, and she's just this tiny girl and very, very kind of delicate and things, and she goes, I go, so how was your first day? She goes, oh my God, I can't believe it. It was my very first day, and the doctor had me in there help him with the surgery. And I was like, oh my God, how was it? Yeah. And I go, how was it? She goes, oh, there was blood everywhere, and it was very dramatic. And I go, really? So what do you think? And she goes, oh, I loved it. I can't wait to go back. And right now she's in a veterinary school.
Wow.
For college, yeah. So so for her that was the right thing. She got a chance to experience it, and she's following that pathway.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And could you tell me about some of your graduates? Maybe some of them became celebrities, or they're more somehow famous.
Well, I mean, I can think of one student, Hanley Winters, who is pursuing an acting career, and she sings and performs live all the time, all over the world, really. She goes around and does that. I have another a student who just graduated from one of the best acting schools in America, and he literally just graduated like 3 weeks ago. So now he's going over to, he's moving to Los Angeles to do his acting career there. And then we had, I have another student who graduated about 5 or 6 years ago. She now has her own business selling health products. She's makes millions of dollars a year. She's very successful. So it's interesting. The method is pretty successful.
So you see the result in real life.
Yes. The other thing with the study technology that I talked about earlier is that because life always changes, and you learn some things in school, but then you need to learn a lot after. And technology changes, the world changes, your career can change, so you always need to be able to learn new skills. So one of the things we do with using study technology is the students learn to be able to teach themselves other subjects. So they become independent learners, which number one helps them a lot in university, because in university they really have to be independent. And our kids always do great in university, always like A and B students, top level. And then also when they have new businesses or new like technology changes in their work, they're able to absorb new information.
The world is changing.
Yes.
And so you have to be prepared for these changes and to have this ability to learn things very, very fast.
Yes, exactly. It's not enough, the last thing I want is for a student to finish school and say, thank God I never have to learn anything else. I want them to love learning, and I want them to graduate with a hunger for more knowledge.
Wow,
Yeah.
unbelievable. And what could you say, what kind of tip could you give to a person, to a student who studies in a public school?
Right.
How could he survive
Yes.
inside this system with all his personal ideas?
Yes. Well, my first piece of advice would be work hard, but don't get stressed out. You know, I never had to, like, in school I had to take a lot of exams. It was stressful. But in 30 years of working, my employer never asked me to take an exam. Right? I mean, and so I would say work hard in school, but don't feel like your school is going to be your whole life. If you're having a hard time in school, it doesn't mean that you will not be successful in life. And I would say that also if you know what you would like to do for a profession, see what you can do to already be active. Maybe in your school you have some flexibility in classes. You can take classes that are interesting for you. You can join clubs after school. And, you know, and I would say, you know, life begins now. It doesn't begin when you graduate. So I would recommend any student to start preparing and living their life immediately. And school is just part of that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And what about video games and telephone games?
Yes.
It's a huge problem now for parents because children, they spend too much time in their telephones.
Yeah. This must be a Russian problem because we don't have this problem in America. There's no Wi-Fi. We have no Wi-Fi in America. No, it is a big problem.
Big problem.
It's kind of funny though. It's also a problem that, well, I'll say a couple different things, you know. But I was looking through something and I forget what it was, but it was an article or I forget exactly where I got it, but it was written in 1990. And it was a parent complaining because their daughter was reading all the time and wouldn't go outside. And I think now in 2019,
it was my mom.
Yeah, probably. But in 2019, I think a parent would be so happy if their kid just read all the time, right? It's a funny thing. But so first of all, I don't think that video games are bad. I don't think that phones are bad. I don't think technology is bad. But every video game that was ever created is designed to keep you playing as long as possible. So they give you this feeling, this artificial feeling of success when you move up to a level and then you move up to another level. And really the only thing that's changed is that some pixels, some light has changed and moved around on a screen. You know, there was no real change in the world. It's just electrons moving. So, but it gives you an artificial sensation and it stimulates the brain, so you releases dopamine. And then you feel like, oh, I feel great because I did this thing, you know, and it makes you feel like you accomplished something when you didn't. And then when you're not playing the video game or you're not getting followers on Instagram or you're not getting likes on your Facebook post, you kind of go, oh, maybe I need to do more. You kind of, it creates the system of where you're trying to get that admiration and that feeling of success. So part of the problem with it is it's different for different kids. Like my kids could play video games, they would play for hours, and then when they're done, they just stop. And then they'd go outside and play or ride their bikes or play sports. But I know other kids that have a very hard time to stop, and that becomes like a real addiction, and it becomes kids staying up late at night, and they can't sleep, and then they're not good students because they're tired because they only got 3 hours of sleep, and then that affects their schoolwork and things like this. I don't know if we have time, but I'll tell you a little story. So when my kids are a little older, so before the video games got really bad, they still had video games. But one thing when they were little, I'm talking about when they're 6, 7, 8, 10, they were watching a lot of videos. So videos, not even DVDs, like the video cartridge, right? So they put the video in, and they watch the same videos over and over and over. Like they saw them a million times, and they keep watching them and everything like this. And then we tried to make a system like, well, you could only watch watch videos after your schoolwork was done, and you could only watch videos after you
some
did.
limitations.
Yes, you did this, but then it was like or only 1 hour a day. We made so many different rules, and nothing worked. And all that happened is I became the video police. You know, all it was, I had to keep worrying about, are they on the TV? How much TV? And then it was like a thing like, well, one of them completed their homework so they could watch TV, but the other one wasn't done. But then they're in the same room, so really they're watching. And it's just not a good system.
Sometimes they try to do this homework too fast and quite bad.
Exactly. So then my wife and my kids, they went on a holiday, and I had to stay home. And so when I stayed home, I took away the TV, I took away all the video games, so there was just nothing there. Not the video games, the videos. And when they came home, they're like, oh my God, what happened to TV? Dad, what did you do? And I said, it's gone, sorry. And then...
it was robbed.
Yes, exactly. And then in about 48 hours, it was like, oh, we want some TV. And I'm like, sorry, it's gone. And then after about 48 hours, they were happy. They're just playing with Legos. They played with each other. Just forgot about it completely. And it was so good. And then when they were older and we brought the TV back, it's okay. You know, they were like, they could watch some TV and start and stop.
Just take it away. So
I mean, if you have it there and just have it turned off, it's constantly reminding the child, oh, I want to watch that. I want to watch it every time they walk by.
Pleasure.
Yes, and it's constantly reminding them that they have this, they want it, they wish they could watch TV right now. But if it's just gone, they forget about it.
I think it's the same like with sweets and all other things
really
that
is.
give pleasure that is not that healthy.
No, exactly.
Right.
And not everybody reacts the same. Some people can have a few pieces of candy and they're fine. Some people, you put a bowl of candy, they're going to eat the whole bowl.
Absolutely.
Like me.
Some people can stop. Some people cannot.
Right.
Jim, really thank you. I appreciate much this moment and all the advice you gave us and shared with us and with those who are going to watch us. So thank you so much for your great job.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And I wish you great success in future and expansion of your great school.
Thank you so much. And I wish you much success with your show.
Thank you.
I hope you have 1 million viewers.
1 million views. Okay, goodbye.